Right. Good evening. This is the April 13th, 2016 meeting of the Finance Committee. 7 o'clock, we're starting on time. Our agenda this evening, we've got two budgets left. We've got the library and employee benefits. We've got 3 or 4 transfers to take care of, and we'll also be going over some warrant articles that we had left on hold, or some of them anyways. And I don't think we have any minutes tonight, and then we'll adjourn. So let's start with the budget reviews, the library budget. Our library head here. Why don't you come on up?
If you can share that with
Nice to see you again.
Gene. You know what?
Gene Collins, Director of the Library.
Gene, right?
I just
Nice to see you again. And we know your budget changed all over the board from the last time we looked at it, so I've been asking all the department heads just to fill us in on how their departments are going, some good things, bad things, things you're trying to get done, so microphone is yours.
And we're in the kind of halfway the first year of a 3-year reorganization plan for the library. That includes pretty much all corners of the library, spacing, public space, staff space, resources, also looking at state aid and how we're meeting state aid requirements, as well as positions, pretty much every corner. So
Great.
It's going pretty well. It's a transitional phase, and there's open communication. I have an open door policy, so staff are always encouraged for opinions and suggestions. So it's going pretty well.
Great, that's great. Anything to add to that, Ed?
No, we've been working closely with Jean. She's done a great job ever since she came on board.
Yep.
She has proposed a reorganization plan. I think you're going to see that in the budget. Subject to approval at town meeting. She's able to do that within the dollars that has been recommended. This budget does meet the minimum contribution as required under the state. I think it's shy just by a little amount that we set aside in the salary and wage reserve account, knowing that the transfer is going to take place once the bylaw employees and the union, which quite honestly we didn't include. But even shy of that, it still meets the minimum contribution.
That's good, okay. Obviously several changes in there from what we previously had, and maybe it's a good thing that we held this budget till the end. The total budget requested by the town manager is $591,633, a 2.58% increase over prior year. I will ask, the dollar amounts are a little bit different than what was in the prior budget, and also about a $7,000 decrease from the department request in the prior budget. I just don't know if that's worth discussing at all in terms of where the dollars came in a little different, or if it was just we've got a reorg that is now these are the good numbers and you're comfortable with those.
The budget reflection here, the state requires that our library budget is $593,761. That's a state requirement. If you don't meet that, you are no longer certified by the state, which means you can't do resource sharing and a whole lot of other things. So we have met that. Other than that, they look for certain things called the MAR Municipal Appropriations Requirements, which is pretty much what you do for your resources that directly affects the public. And we have met that. I think last year, maybe that's what you're referring to, there was a discrepancy there, but this year everything is in line with what it should be.
Okay.
Yeah, there are certain thresholds on a percentage basis that has to be earmarked in certain line items within the budget, and that's why you're seeing a slight shift in dollars to those appropriate lines that meet the requirements of the state.
Okay, good. And I know you had given us a heads up earlier that there were additional requirements as part of that minimum contribution to this, so which I think was new to us, or...
It was actually new to me. It was Gene informed us that you have to meet a certain percentage, for instance, on library books and materials as a percentage of the total budget. So that's why we had to do some tweaking to meet, to come within those parameters.
That's goes by population of your town, and so for our population, it needs to be 15% of the total appropriations from the town to the library.
Okay, we've been doing this a long time. That's new to me, so good. Okay, the way it goes. I'm going to open up to questions. Any questions or comments on the library budget?
Just, I see that, in part of the reorganization, you've got 3 new titles, new accounts. That's not 3 new bodies. I see the biggest part of the reduction is in your library associates. So library associates moving to different titles, different responsibilities, or how does that reorganization?
There's some shifting around. Not all the positions are even currently filled. So the reorganization part of that is to balance the managerial side versus the library associate side, because previously it was off balance. So kind of working towards that. So there's assistant director position is no longer there, so that's actually one of the positions that's just been under a different title.
Okay.
So, because there's nobody filling the position right now.
Good. Any other questions at this point? Yeah?
Hi, I have a question about the computers. I know in the past, it's been a struggle to get someone to fix them when when they're not working. How's that being handled now? And I know last year that you put in a capital request for computers. Are you all set in that area?
We are in the process of, first we had to do kind of a massive inventory about we had, what each computer was, whether it was the public side or the staff side, what software they were running, how old they were. So we kind of pulled all that together. There's money in the capital budgets that was set aside for computers. We will definitely now start using that. We also need another server within the next year. And so there's a lot there that we haven't. I've been in the position for about 7 months, so we're kind of, just kind of pulling all that information together so we can make the right decisions.
Okay, thanks. So do you think the computer needs will be met by the amount of money that's in that capital plan?
I do. I think there is sufficient money there. We've also been looking at, moving forward and strategizing for the next capital budget so that we can allocate them appropriately, so we don't have a glut at any time in the future where everything's, outdated at once.
Okay, thanks. And how do they, if the computers aren't working, I mean, if you need a tech person, so to speak, who do you call?
Right now, there is some things that I can do,
Yep.
and I also have somebody on staff who can also do some things. The IT department is first rate. I mean,
good.
whenever I need anything, they're right there.
Great. So the town. Okay, so the town's doing it. That's great. Thank you.
I'd also like to probably point out that I should have done in the beginning. I work very closely with the board. The board is 100%. I keep them very well informed, and they are open to suggestions too. So we're working very closely with the board as well.
Very good. Ed?
To the chair, the 2 new positions that are open under the management team, the system circulation supervisor and the assistant director, those salaries look a lot lower than the associates. Is that a market rate? Was there a market study on that going rate for those positions?
Up in the
In the management team, the open positions?
Well, the library associate positions are not identified on individual level. The ones here, these are positions that people are expected to have master's degrees and quite a bit of experience in different areas as we kind of move the library forward, using a lot of technologies and data management, those kinds of things. So the library associate positions they're not drilled
Senior
down.
library associates and the library associates are bundled up under the line item called library associates.
But the management team one, the 2 open ones, I was just thinking more of is that based on like market, like
Salary ranges
the salary
here?
range in the market?
Yes, I've been in libraries for 20 years, so I kind of, I'm able to kind of tell what kind of positions and what kind of responsibilities they're going to have, and I am looking for, people with master's degrees. It's not an extravagant salary, but it's fair.
I was thinking it was kind of on the low side.
Well, the benefits in the town are good, and so you kind of weigh all that as well. So.
Thank you.
All set, Ed?
Yep.
Good. Any other questions, Mallory?
I was just wondering how the attendance has been trending in the library, especially with the renovations, and if you've if you've seen an increase in attendance in the town, if you think there might be a need for more library associates in the future or more material, if people have been requesting things, if you feel this budget is
What happens in
adequate.
our libraries, and certainly we're preparing for this future as well, is attendance isn't necessarily walking in the door anymore. There's a lot of resource sharing, of which we belong to the network, CW Mars. There's quite a few libraries in that network, so more and more of our responsibilities are to provide resources electronically. There wasn't any data from the previous year. One of the earlier things that I did was start to initiate, I'm very data-driven, is kind of, let's count and let's see where we're at. So we're about 6 months into that. I don't have anything to compare it to from last year. We're also looking at how many, whether programs are driving people in. And so it's early for me to say. I think we're probably about what it was, but I really don't have a good frame of reference. But it's something I watch very carefully.
Thank you.
Good question. We do bring that up every year, by the way, eventually, so that's good. Any other questions? Before we take Kev, go ahead.
Just one more through the chair. So you're in a multi-year phased proposal for reorganization. We're in year one of that?
About halfway through year one.
And what should we anticipate for 2 and 3 for changes that we may see in next year's budget?
This first year has been a lot of foundation, kind of behind the scenes. Not everybody's seeing a lot of what we're doing. It's a lot of, really identifying job descriptions and then making sure those descriptions meet the needs for where we are and also where we'll be going in the future. It's a lot of, pulling together the budgets and really seeing what was in capital, what we need going forward in capital, and how I meet the demands from the state as well in terms of resource sharing and supporting needs electronically, for instance. A lot of what we're doing now is, getting ready to deploy a new website. That offers major opportunities for us, disseminating additional information electronically. Also, working more with the CW Mars network so that we can add more resources in terms of e-content like e-books and so forth. So a lot of it's also reorganizing staff workspace and some of the public workspace and kind of splitting circulation into reference and kind of putting things, I think, in a little bit, places where they belong and a little more efficient for the public. Year 2 will be, hopefully, because this is the part that I really prefer to be doing, is a lot more of the programs and that meet the populations, not only the ones that come in, but the ones who don't come in. So I kind of look at that, who are the people who aren't coming in and how do we draw them in? I think there needs to be some educational series that we haven't been doing in terms of, offering programs to the public for resume writing and how to use software and those kinds of things. ESL, I had somebody come in today asking me about ESL. So moving forward in year 2, hopefully we'll be ready to undertake those because we really kind of needed to firm up the foundation before we could build on that. So.
Thank you.
Any more questions? No?
Motion to recommend $591,633.
Second.
All right, now before we take a vote on that, just so I don't forget, it's related, unrelated. We also have a library article, Article 20, which we had put on hold. And I just would like to know at this point, it's going to take a while before we get to the articles tonight, and I don't want to keep you for that. Any comments on the repurposing of some of the funds? And that's to either one of you on that. I know we put it on hold for a reason, supposedly.
Well, I can tell you that a bid was put out by the town to replace the windows at the library, and it was structured in such a way that it provided for alternate bids. Those came back, and the money we have available would allow for one of those.
One with 2 alternates, right?
Yeah, there's one main bid with 2 alternates. So I believe the request to amend the CIP article that would free up more money to apply to windows would help exercise one of those alternates. I think if that article should not pass, then there's adequate funds in order to address, I think, the main bid itself.
Okay. And once again, it's more a matter of information. We were asked to put it on hold last week, and it's about $100,000 in repurposing. I believe, Ed, on Article 20. I was doing the math on that.
Yeah, let me just pull it out.
And without getting too much deeper into that, obviously, that means some other, what seemed to be pretty important stuff is getting put off.
Yeah, roughly
From the-
$1,000.
Okay. All right. And I thought I'd give Jean a chance to comment on that. She's here, if necessary.
For the windows, well, I've been involved in all the discussions and
Good.
kind of looking at the capital, and so
Good.
kind of deferring. Bill Coyle's involved in the discussion. We're kind of, working together to see what.
Okay. That's fine. Good.
So just further comment on that. 3 of those line items that are asking to be amended, those projects have already been completed, so that's actually surplus money that remains. So it's not as if those other things aren't going to get done because they haven't done.
Good. You knew I was going to bring it up again, too, so.
I thought I beat you to the punch.
What hasn't been completed?
There was money for the boiler, and we had it looked at by Mr. Fahey and some other people in the profession who've indicated that the boiler is fine at this point, no need to replace it. And now watch, we'll probably fail tomorrow. So we believe at this point in time that money is not needed.
Was the
Some repairs have been made.
was the roof, roof's a big number.
Great, I think, too, that we didn't need to.
Yeah, we
Oh,
only
wait,
took a
that was
portion of
we
that.
took a-
Yeah,
Was the roof addressed?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's surplus there. Okay. And I apologize for getting ahead of the game here. I just thought I'd give Jean a chance to sound off if she needed to. And with witnesses. There you go. Okay. Any other questions or comments? And that includes on Article 20. At this time, we'll reopen that up. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Jean, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Okay. We're gonna take a step sideways. Cindy Cosgrove is here. Cindy, we're gonna take care of you and get you right out of here. No sense in hanging around for these deliberations. We have a transfer request within the assessor's office, actually multiple transfers. 2 of them are actually going to the update reval account. This is transfers 1 and 3. I'll accept a motion to take 1 and 3 as one motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Okay, the total amount to be transferred is $797.50. This is to the update reval account, 120 from the supplies account, and $677.50 from the training account. This is to cover additional revaluation costs. We just come up short?
We had a piece of equipment fail, so we're kind of working around that. And that's basically anything that we can throw for resources at that update reval account. At this point, we're trying to maneuver over there. It seems like every time you turn around, something happens.
Okay. Any comments or questions on that transfer?
Motion to recommend?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. The second transfer, or the third transfer, I guess, this is to the travel account, amount requested $100 from the training account. There will still be about $900 after this transfer, $850. This is to cover conference travel costs. Anything exciting you're going to for $100?
No, just the Mass Association's annual summer conference.
Did we under budget that?
Well, a lot of times I don't go to that. We attend something different, which is put on, it's actually a software vendor puts on a training. They canceled it this year, so we were just we just need to move things around, and instead we'll go to the summer conference.
Okay, that's fine. Any questions or comments? A motion on this?
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thanks, Cindy. Nice to see you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Did we do all 3 of them?
I did all 3 of them. I talk fast sometimes.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to cut back to our last budget. This is employee benefits. Not normally something I'm happy to bring up, but actually I think we have an update from the town CFO. That's some good news. relative to employee benefits. Ed, I'll turn it over to you before we take up the budget.
As a result of some meetings we had with the Insurance Advisory Committee, because our insurance was not expected, it was going to go up by a blended 11.8%, which means the town's share, in order to meet that increase, was about $700,000. That's just something that we couldn't support and sustain. As a result of that, at the same time, we were in negotiations with 10 bargaining groups. Not at the table, but through the Insurance Advisory Committee, we addressed our healthcare insurance concerns and issues with them. And quite honestly, we said we can't absorb an 11.8% increase. We want to work with you, and made a number of proposals to the Insurance Advisory Committee. 2 months after, a month and a half down the road, it went to a vote. There was one group that didn't support the changes, but asked that we delay it a week, they take it back to their membership again. They did, and they voted to support the changes unanimously. So we now have a memorandum of agreement signed by all the unions accepting those proposed changes. In essence, what that does is, as a result of some changes in our out-of-pocket expenses and our deductibles, we were able to bring, and we're putting at risk $300,000 of our trust money. We have about $7 million in our trust. So in essence, what we do is we're putting that at risk as a way to drop our premiums down to 2%. So the premiums will go at 2%. When I say we're putting it at risk, we pay for actual claims. So on a claims basis, if we're running 100% of claims, we're going to chew into a portion of our $300,000 in the trust. If we're running where we're running now, and we have been running the past several years, we're running at about a 78 to 85% of actual claims based on the premium. That means our trust is growing. We're basically chewing into a portion of that growth. Our trust is right where we want it to be. We've built it up over the past 10 years. Since we started the self-insured trust, we have about $7.5 million in our trust, which represents about 16 months of actual claims. The advice we're getting from our administrators, our healthcare administrators, is that you keep about 6 to 12 months of claims in your trust in the event you have a catastrophic event. We do have reinsurance over claims over $110,000. The reinsurance kicks in. Our trust does not absorb any cost over $110,000. The reinsurance absorbs that. But we did have one case where the reinsurance didn't cover it, and we had an invoice of $600,000 of exposure to the trust. We appealed it, we won. The reinsurance paid for that claim. That's why we want to keep a healthy reserve in the trust in the event you have situations such as that. So bottom line, 2% putting at risk $300,000 in the trust. We were able to save approximately $300,000 as a reduction of the premium based upon those factors. In addition to that, because of the changes in deductibles and out-of-pocket, we agreed to having a mitigation fund, and that's the new account you're seeing in there. The mitigation fund provides a 2-year commitment of $25,000 in year 1, $20,000 in year 2. It's a give back to the employees. For instance, if they go to their doctor and the doctor is a specialist, under the proposed change, the current amount they pay to see a specialist is $35. Next year, if they go to see a specialist, it's $60. That's a $25 increase. The individual or those covered under the insurance plan would be allowed to request a reimbursement on a quarterly basis for those costs against the $25,000. So that's why that's in place, and that's often done, or it's a requirement under Chapter 32B, if a community should transition from their own health care insurance plan to the GIC. Under the GIC plan, we would be required to put 25% of year one savings into a mitigation fund. This is great, but it's adequate enough to meet we believe, the additional costs that our employees will absorb as a result of those changes in co-pays. So I also want to say that we have to reserve those savings because we don't want to go back to the unions again next year if we should have an increase in insurance rates once again. So by taking that $300,000 and reserving that, we would be allowed to mitigate any increases in next year's increases as best we can. The market is very volatile now. We had a 12% increase. I can tell you that Leicester had a 40% increase in their insurance rates, and I can only imagine how difficult that would be to deal with. But the market is very volatile because of the cost of prescription drugs. There's no control on prescription drugs. The drugs that are being utilized by our active employees now, your day-to-day drugs, in some cases have gone up 400%. Based upon the current out-of-pocket expenses they have, once they reach that max, the town picks up 100% of that cost. So that's why those out-of-pocket increases were negotiated or agreed to with the Insurance Advisory Committee. We're very low as compared to other communities and compared to the GIC. So ours are $2,500, $5,000. I can tell you the GIC is like $5,000, $10,000 for family. So the mitigation fund will go a long way, and it helped us sell these changes to our subscribers.
Okay, well, the amount requested by town manager, or the revised amount requested, is $9,280,809, which is still a $440,579 or nearly 5% increase over prior year, but at least a couple $100,000 less than we were originally looking at. Before I go through the line items on this, because I think it's important for everyone to know the larger ones, I'll open up the questions on this, on any of the specific accounts, Ted. Any question, Kim?
Ed, you said you're setting aside the $300,000 in reserve. Where is that going to be appropriated somewhere?
Well, when I say set aside, we can't build it back into the operational side of the budget. Once it's in the operational side of the budget, then it's built in and there's no taking it back. What we would probably suggest, either use it for one-time appropriation or put it in the stabilization account, because that's just a one-time. Next year it reverts back and it would become available for the purpose that we just identified.
Okay. Any other questions at this point? Like I said, I'm going to go through a couple of the larger ones here, and some I know have been traditionally sensitive, at least to this board. The group insurance, as we've been discussing, $6,375,000. That's down from our previous estimate by well over $200,000. It's actually up $230,000 from last year. The Worcester County retirement, that just keeps increasing. That's up another $170,000 to $2.3 million. Medicare is up $10,000 to $430,000. And my one question, Ed, is on the OPEB study, which is small dollars. Is that every 5 years that we have to?
OPEB is every 2.
2 years. We didn't pick that up as a, is that new account?
I think we did it as an outside article.
Outside article? All right. That's fine. Any other questions on this? Once again, we have a requested budget of $9,280,809. Kev?
Just through the chair, I mean, obviously you've negotiated with the unions for the modifications. Is there anything in terms of programs in place to help take some of that sting away from some of the families in terms of some of that flexible spending account type stuff, and where they can pre-tax take some money out and put it aside for some of those deductibles and stuff they may be?
A couple of things. We do have an FSA that we're trying to, we've had it for a number of years, but a lot of people don't know about it. A lot to do with healthcare and controlling costs, has everything to do with education. So we're trying to reach out, make people aware, before you renew every year your plan, you may want to look at another plan. If someone's on a Harvard, they may want to look at a Fallon. If someone's on a Fallon, they may want to look at a Harvard. They may want to look at a lower cost plan because the network of doctors is changing every day. They used to print out a booklet of network doctors. It's changing so much they don't even print them anymore, so you can go online and change. So we're asking our employees, A, to look at your plan, and B, look at the options under your plan. A lot of services could be, instead of going to the ER, maybe you can go to these medi-clinics to help control costs, health and wellness, and other components within the health insurance plan that would not only save the subscriber money, but it saves the employer money too. We also are offering an opt-out program effective next fiscal year as well. So if someone is currently on the town's insurance plan and they want to go on to their spouse's plan, who may work for a private or another organization, if they're on a family plan, we're going to offer that employee $3,800 a year to go on to another plan. The town's cost to keep that individual on a family plan is minimum $16,000, maybe as high as $22,000 on the Cadillac plan. $3,800, so the town's going to save $12,000 per individual. That does equate to some substantial savings. We did send out a survey. Out of the survey, I think about 25-ish to 30 people expressed an interest in looking at the opt-out program. So the numbers are there that hopefully will result in some significant savings, but we won't know until, they have to look at their spouse's plan and see whether it's worth making the move.
I guess that was the second part of my question. You kind of touched on the education. Do you see that changing with your restructuring downstairs, having a full-time benefits person as opposed to, it sounded like before you had someone almost splitting duties?
Yeah.
Do you see some of that educational stuff being vamped up? I mean, it seems on a small system as Auburn is, people are directly really invested in keeping their costs low because it keeps the town's costs low, which will keep, these ballooning figures from occurring.
Yeah, the only time our subscribers were educated or there was some type of outreach is through open enrollment, and quite honestly, the volume of traffic just isn't there. We have to actually get into the buildings, maybe do some PSAs through our cable committee that would allow our employees to sit down at home and watch maybe some healthcare providers explain what benefits are under each plan. So we're trying to get creative and trying to get to the actual employee as best we can.
I mean, I know that flexible spending plan, I do it myself, and the child care one, I mean, it pretty much, saves you about a third of the cost if you put down a...
Through the chair.
It'd be interesting to know if there was an estimate on how many town employees with a family plan, if the savings, if the employee family member had access to another plan with their own employer, if they were forced off to get their own insurance, the savings to the town. Some large corporations require that if your family member has access to their own plan, they have to go there.
Yeah, there may be some legal issues with that on the municipality side. I don't think you can force them off the plan, but you can offer an incentive to get them off the plan.
Good question. Ian, anything? No. Okay, so we have a town manager requested budget. This is for pension benefits of $9,280,809, a 4.98% increase over prior year. Do we have a motion on this?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Abstain?
Opposed and abstained, so voted. Thank you. That's our last operating budget, and with the conclusion of that, and especially with this late, I'll say, good news on the group insurance, Ed, can you give us a quick wrap-up before we go to the warrant articles on where we stand on a so-called balanced budget?
I think I reported to the committee last week that we had about $825 available. That is now $300,825. And you ask, why is that an even number? And I should have spoke about this when we were talking about the health insurance. I did provide for an annual increase of 10 individuals. We do that every year on the health plan, group health insurance, for a number of reasons. Number one, we have to consider what new employees are being proposed in the budget because they're currently not on the health plan. So I think the school's full-time FTEs is 7, with no new employees on the town side. So potentially we could have 7 new employees joining our healthcare plan. In addition to that, we have to consider any retirees who may be going, and the individuals that are filling those positions are entitled to health insurance too. So normally we do 10 plus a factor of those who may be retiring. We did 10 only because we believe the opt-out program may neutralize some of that new growth. So when we considered the cost of the premium, 2% is what the employee is going to pay. The increase in the retirees is 10%, blended it's 5.5. So it's really a 5.5% increase on the total plan, not just 2% for the active employees on the town side, non-retirees. So we have to provide an additional amount in the health insurance just in case there's some growth there. And we normally have growth through open enrollment as well. Normally the municipal plans are very attractive, especially since there have been changes in healthcare throughout the country. Normally businesses are going to provide for the minimum, the bare bones minimum that they're required to provide, and that becomes, the municipal plans now become more attractive. So we've seen some growth on the municipal side because of that. But hopefully the opt-out program will somewhat neutralize that, but we still have to account for some growth in that area as well.
Just through the chair, on the opt-out program, you probably, I'm sure you've looked at a number of different programs that are out there. I mean, I know some will give a different buyout based on if they're giving up a family plan as opposed to an individual, and based on a whole variety of factors. But did you find that the flat fee was the best one to propose?
Well, actually, it's structured. I just said $3,800 on the family plan. If someone goes from the family plan to a single plan, they get a $1,500 payment. And if they went from the single plan and they got off, it'd be $1,800.
Thank you.
So there are communities out there that are giving similar incentives to what we are. It's within the ballpark.
Any other questions or comments? So at this point, we're going into town meeting with approximately $300,000 surplus, and that's including funding all articles that are on the warrant articles here? Or not? Just so we're clear on that.
Yeah, the only article is that $6,000. Everything else has been provided for. The retrofitting of the truck with tools for fleet maintenance. So that's something that we will try to address this fiscal year.
Okay.
Now, one other comment. Some of those articles will be, I know 2 of them will be requested to be postponed indefinitely until the fall town meeting. One being the McKinney Vento, and one for the $2,500 for the cemetery perpetual care. With the possibility of the tools, but we'd have to wait till town meeting.
Okay. So with that being said, why don't we go to the articles? I've got listed the ones we had left on hold. We'll just go through them again, and Ed, fill us in if you think we should be just deferring or no position at all. I find it somewhat ironic, our Article 2, which is now the fix the salary and compensation of elected town officers. Can we even take a position on this without numbers in here? And will those numbers be available on May 3rd?
They'll be available for May 3rd. If I could ask either hold till the night of town meeting, or that would be my request. If you could hold this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer not to vote on them if we don't have numbers anyways. We'll have those numbers beforehand though, so?
Yes.
Okay. And I only ask that so anyone here has a chance to call you directly if they have any questions on any of those. We usually have a short amount of time before town meeting to deliberate over anything open, something like that. Feel free to call Ed directly. I'll give you his number if he doesn't have, if you don't have it, so. All right, so we'll hold on Article 2. We'll continue to hold on Article 2 until town meeting. Article 3 is, this would be somebody tell me to put the
The operating budget, Mr. Chairman.
still operating budget, right? We don't have a number in here though. Should we have a number in here to vote on that? Do we?
It's in the motion.
All right, we just
The
don't.
number's always in the motion.
Okay. So we've already voted the operating budget, so I guess we don't need to see the
This
number.
is our article anyway.
Yep, okay. To determine what sums of money town meeting will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds or otherwise provide for and appropriate to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and interest, and to provide for a reserve fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2016 and ending June 30, 2017. Do we have a motion on this?
Motion to recommend as voted by the committee.
Voted by the committee.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted, okay. So we're all set there. Article 4, I believe we voted. Sharon, correct me if I've missed over any of these. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Article 9 was put on hold. This was, I think, at Kim's request, and thanks for sending out those revolving accounts. I'm going to open this up to questions before we take a motion on this. Anyone have any questions on the revolving accounts? To me, they look pretty straightforward. Made sense to me. To see if town meeting will vote, this is Article 9, to establish or renew revolving funds for various town and school programs in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and Chapter 44, Section 53D.
Motion recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Let's see. Article 15 is the next one. I believe we had deferred on this one.
Motion to defer.
We did vote to defer on this? Okay, so we're good on that. Article 16, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $30,149 from general fund revenues to meet tuition and transportation costs of an outside placement of an Auburn student attending an out-of-school vocational district. I think it was eventually decided that the schools were going to sponsor this. I'd like to remind everyone that this, according to our discussion anyways, this is the first time this has happened to any student in Auburn anyways. So this is not something that we've addressed before in terms of who's sponsoring this. And it's sponsored by the superintendent of the schools. Any questions, comments, or a motion?
Just, I'm sorry, just through the chair.
Yep.
Just logistically, so I'm sure this is one that's going to bring up some questions from town meeting members as to why we why we're paying money. Is that something that someone from the school department would address at the town meeting, or how does that work logistically?
Yep.
So even if we recommend it tonight, they could still ask the questions of the person who's sponsoring the article?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Kim?
In my opinion, this doesn't belong, this belongs in the school department's budget, not as a separate article. And I would recommend that we disapprove this article.
Okay, so you have a recommend to disapprove this article. Is that worded correctly, Sharon? Okay.
Not recommend, yeah.
Not recommend? Okay. Any further comments or questions? Do we have a second? Yeah, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, if I
Yep,
could just
please.
there's been a lot of discussion about this warrant article. It has come to my attention, and I think I do have a copy of it that I'd be happy to share with the committee. There was an opinion written by Attorney Dean Moskis for the town of Millbury in 2011 regarding this same situation. In his opinion, and I can pass this around, but in a summary fashion, because the same question was asked, is it a liability of the town or is it a liability of the school? In his opinion, under Chapter 74, Section 7C, it addresses this, where the town is responsible for the cost of the out-of-district placement. His interpretation of town is general government, not necessarily school. We did provide a sum of money to meet that obligation. It is coming out of general fund revenues. It is not a direct line item within the school department budget. All of our vocational school educational expenses are provided for in the vocational school department, BayPath, based upon an agreement, but it is counted towards an educational expense under Schedule 19. This, in my opinion, would be applied the same way. So there is a cost associated with providing an education for an Auburn student who is out of district. That being said, if this should get defeated, then we would still have an obligation to make that payment, even though there isn't an ample appropriation. My guess is the Department of Education would assess us through a reduction in our cherry sheet state aid, the value of that out-of-district tuition, so we would receive less revenue. So I think there's some teeth in the law that would require the community to pay, whether there's an ample appropriation or not.
Mallory?
Do we know what year the student is in? Could this be a warrant article for 4 years in a row?
This student is currently, he will be an incoming freshman for the next school year, so we would be committed to this student for the next 4 years.
Okay, so this article would, I guess it just doesn't say that it would stay with the student through the 4 years. That's my only concern. We're going to see it, we have to see it again.
Well, that would be up to the student. If the student decided after year 1 they don't want to stay, then we wouldn't
That's
be
true.
obligated to that.
Okay. All right.
Now, once again, this is, per our conversation, a first for our town to be dealing with this.
Unfortunately, we received confirmation. I think I told the committee when we presented the budget early on that the possibility exists that we may have 2 students. I think we received confirmation maybe 3 weeks ago that the student has been accepted and will be going to Norfolk Agricultural Vocational School. The question was asked, why couldn't we have built it in the operating budget? We had no confirmation that this student was accepted, just an application was on file and that we would be hearing in the future. That being said, I think next year we would find a way to build it into the operational side of the budget because we know we're committed to the student for 3 years, just like something very similar to that. So we'd probably set up a separate org called Norfolk Agricultural Assessment and handle it through the operational side of the budget.
So I'm inferring then that town administration would not be trying to layer this onto the school budget. It would be a part of, I'll call it the non-school side of the town's budget.
Well, I think there's clear recognition that this is an educational expense one way or another. It's going to come out of general fund revenues anyway, whether it go into the school department budget or whether it go into the general government side of the budget.
Okay, just to be clear on that, Kev?
Through the chair, you mentioned at a previous meeting, I think that there were a couple of districts in the area that had similar, I think you maybe said Spencer could potentially have had 4 students. Has there been any discussion taking a regional model to maybe, instead of having 2 buses going to Walpole, that
Yes.
the Spencer students pick up the Auburn student on the way through?
Yes. Actually, I think that as part of the $30,000, there's 2 components to that. There's the actual tuition piece, which is 21 and change. And an estimate of transportation cost utilizing the pooled approach. So that's like $8,000. I think it's $215 per week. I don't know. It's $8,000 for the school year.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, it's a number. Any other questions, comments, Valerie? You have that look.
I'm good right now, thank you.
Ed, anything? Ian?
Yeah, I think that this is an out-of-district vocational school that the student is going to, and we should treat it like we treat BayPal, which is a separate line item, and it's not included within the school department budget.
Okay. At this point, we have a motion to not recommend. Kim?
Ed, are you recommending that we approve this article?
What I can tell you is early on, we provided money to meet this obligation, this liability. I am asking that you recommend this article because we're obligated to it one way or another.
Withdraw? Okay. And I understand your point on that, too. So I appreciate, for conversation's sake, that was brought up. Okay, so we have Article 16. At this point, I'll accept a recommendation of some kind.
Motion to recommend.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. All right. Our next article is Article 20. We touched on briefly with Gene. And just a real quick recap. So basically, this is, actually, let me read the article. I apologize. See if town meeting will vote to amend various library capital improvement line items for the purchase and installation of windows at the Auburn Public Library. The air conditioner upgrade, $10,850. Library roof, $55,063.20. Library carpet, $14,755.31. And library boiler, $20,000. All to be repurposed to assist in the payment of new windows, correct? And that's about $100,000. Did you mention that's not the full cost? This is part of the cost?
I think we currently have about $145,000 available outside of this money for the replacement of windows at the Auburn Public Library.
Okay. And further to that, you said the library roof was already completed. The boiler, knock on wood, doesn't need addressing any issues at this point in time. And you said there was a third? 3 of the 4?
The carpet in the library's already been replaced.
The carpet, okay, so it would just be the AC upgrade, which would be deferred at this point in time.
We kept a portion of the AC upgrade. I think there's $15,000 left, so the work that they want to do had a value, I think, of $5,000 and change, so
Okay.
they're willing to release this amount of money to put towards some windows.
All right. Now, with this repurpose, assuming we approve this, they're fairly obligated to spend that money within the next 18 months or so on, or not do the project at all, correct?
These funds have already been borrowed.
Right.
The general rule of thumb is once borrowed, spend down within 18 to 24 months, preferably 18. That's the policy now. We're not going to borrow money if it's not needed because we don't want it to sit there because we'd be facing arbitrage issues and would be subject to penalties and fines by the IRS. The bids have already been received, so once this money's been amended, my guess is it would be expended within a 6-month period.
Okay, good. Any other questions on this? I'm sorry, I'm still on the microphone here. Okay, there being none, do we have a motion for this?
Motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 23. This is once again revisiting, see if town meeting votes to appropriate the sum of $6,000 from general fund revenues to retrofit a pickup truck with tools and equipment for the fleet maintenance, for road calls and general maintenance. We had a brief discussion on this, and I think it was our opinion. I'm putting words in people's mouths, so we're going to try to find the money within the fiscal 16 actual budget we're in.
I would suggest that the Finance Committee recommend this article. If in fact we don't come up with the 6, we could, and I think we'd have to talk to Jeff and Bill Coyle about this. We could use a portion of 300 as a one-time, no one's going to revert back again. I don't necessarily want to do that, but it is an option. If in fact we can identify the money in this fiscal year, we would, even though you recommend it, we would move to postpone the article indefinitely or bring it up in the fall.
Okay.
That's the motion.
Motion to recommend?
Yeah. Whatever Eddie just said is the motion.
Recommend, and then we can about face in the fall if we have found the funds.
I will know by town meeting. So
we will.
Either if you vote to recommend,
Yep.
it may be a motion to postpone indefinitely if we can find the money or identify the money by the time we get to town meeting.
Okay, so that's something you'll be able to educate town meeting members on that night. Okay, so I believe you're suggesting that we recommend at this point in time. So, was that your motion to recommend? Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. We're gonna find $6,000 for God's sake. Okay, let's see. Article 25, that's road acceptance, which we normally defer, and we did defer. And Article 26, this is see if town meeting vote to appropriate $2,300 from the expendable trust cemetery perpetual care account for the purchase of a copier for the cemetery. And Ed, you
This
had
one will be
guidance on this?
postponed indefinitely, I've been told. So I would ask that you defer this one to the petition.
Okay. Any comments? Do we have a motion?
A motion to defer to the petitioner.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Sharon, we got them all covered? Nice. So as far as the budget goes, our job is done. And this means we don't need to meet beforehand, do we? Oh, actually, we'll have to meet to talk about Article 2, right? Okay. I tried to. That's all right. We got a couple more transfers, and then I think we can call it a budget season almost. 1, 2, 3 sets of transfers. First transfer, this is under the treasurer. Amount requested $1,500 to the clerical account from the certification of notes account. There's $3,368 in that account to be transferred or available. Reason for transfer is part-time clerical coverage as a result of medical leave. Any questions on this?
Motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. And our next transfer, this is under legal services. Amount requested $10,000 going to the general counsel account from special litigation for miscellaneous general counsel matters. There was 10 grand available in the special litigation account, so that will be drained to $0 if accepted. Any questions?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. And our last transfer of the evening. This is a reserve account transfer, Office of the Town Manager. So let's see, salary and wage reserve transfer of $850. Let's see. And reason for the transfer per town manager contract, section 4 salary, B contractual obligation for performance evaluation at the Board of Selectmen public hearing on 4/11/16. Any questions or comments?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Okay, we don't have any minutes tonight. That's it for the transfers. So we've got town meeting. We don't need to meet before town meeting, do we? Ed? At night though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay. So that's Tuesday, May 3rd, 7 o'clock is when, all right, so, can we make 6:30? Okay, so 6:30, we'll have a room to be determined. It's usually, it's at the music chorus room, over to the right and tuck back in there. So we'll meet at 6:30, we'll just go over Article 2, and then we should be all set. And Sharon will pass along to us those, I guess the salary requests, the list. Is that something that,
There's three.
just 3? Okay,
Moderator, town clerk, board of selectmen.
okay, that's fine.
Elected officials.
So if there's any questions, feel free to call in right away on that, and whatever, and we'll try to make that a quick meeting. Okay, anything else regarding the budget? I think we're in pretty good shape. I appreciate everyone's efforts. It was a good spring, very uneventful budget. Beacon Hill was, quiet this year, which is a good thing.
The House numbers were just released today. They basically mirror that of the governor's, so
Good.
not expecting any, actually, it's a minor decrease by about $4,000, but
We can work with that. Just one question, just for the sake of over/under. There was the Exxon Charlton just had their lawsuit settled on that. There's an impact on Bay Path. Do we have any idea what that may affect regarding capital plans and all that kind of stuff? Obviously a big number.
it's not part of our capital assessment, so...
It's not, okay, within
Our
that.
capital assessment is strictly the new school.
Okay,
So that's debt and interest driven, so I'm not expecting any change.
okay, good to
May
know.
have
Good for them.
a impact on the operational side of the budget, but we haven't heard anything.
Okay, that's fine. Any other comments? Great, thanks everyone. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Good night.